Good morning and welcome to the 386th meeting of BRTB. This meeting is being recorded. If anyone online experiences any difficulties, please send a message in the chat box. I ask that any virtual BRTB members turn on their cameras during the roll call for attendance as well as for voting. I ask Ms. Rebecca Dabble to start the roll call to determine member participation.
Annapolis.
Present.
Rebecca, can we turn down your volume?
Yes, sounds like a good idea. Sorry.
Annapolis.
Present.
Sorry about that, guys. Anne Arundel County,
Present.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Present.
Carroll County,
Present.
Hartford County,
Present.
Howard County,
Present.
Queen Anne's County,
Present.
MDOT, RTA of Central Maryland. Thank you.
All right. Our first item is the approval of the minutes from the May 26th BRTB meeting. There are no minutes from the June since the meeting was canceled. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes? Motion to approve. Second. All right. So it's Hartford and Annapolis, excuse me, and Arundel for the second. Are there any edits from the members? We will now vote on approval of the minutes. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT, RTA of Central Maryland. Thank you.
All right, next is our public participation opportunity where we offer the public a chance to speak to the board. If anyone has any comments on any of the action items, please wait for that item to be discussed. If there is anyone who wishes to address the board virtually at this time, please indicate in the chat box.
Mr. Chair, currently there is no one requesting to speak in the chat box. I'm going to look out into the audience. Would anyone like to make a general comment or would anyone like to wait until an action item?
Quick question. Is it okay to, if you have a meeting to get to, can you, even if it's on an action item, can you do it now?
Is that okay? Mr. Chair, you can make a comment right now. Please come up.
Thanks, sorry. I heard the wait for the action item, but
That's okay.
thank you, I appreciate it. So I'm commenting on, I don't know what item number it is, but the TIP approval. Good morning, my name is Eric Norton. I'm the Director of Policy and Programs with the Central Maryland Transportation Alliance. You've received our comment letters, I'm sure, and responded to them. Thank you very much. I'm going to start by acknowledging the positives. Your response to our comments points to increased investments in transit, biking, walking. So those are nice steps in the right direction. Thank you, we appreciate them. But I think the bigger question is whether they're enough. One of the main points in your response is that the highway capacity spending has declined while transit funding has increased. But in the way you've done the math, you combined transit preservation and transit capacity to come up with that number. And those are not the same thing. When we're contrasting highway expansion to transit expansion, we're talking about new capacity versus new capacity. Maintaining the system is important. In fact, we think we should be spending, or we all should be spending more on preservation across all modes. But when we're talking about building the transportation system of the future, it's important to compare apples to apples, and that's what I think our analysis does. For 30 years, this region has not meaningfully expanded its transit network. We built the metro in the 80s, late around the 90s, and then since then, we've maintained the status quo just barely, I would say. Meanwhile, we've expanded every other mode of transportation. Added roadway capacity, of course. We've expanded capacity at the airport, the Port of Baltimore. We've invested in freight rail capacity. We've built entire new toll road facilities outside. That's just in this region. Outside the region, we're building the Purple Line. The state's dedicating funding to WMATA in perpetuity. Meanwhile, for Baltimore Transit, an entire generation has passed without major expansion. Imagine where this region could be today if we spent the last 3 decades showing the same level of ambition for transit that we've shown elsewhere. Nobody is going to leave this meeting today and get back to their home or their office by hopping onto a world-class, high-capacity, high-quality rapid transit system. That's the envy of our peer regions, because we don't have that system, and that's a choice. That's a choice that the state of Maryland and the local governments represented in this body have been making for years. We have decades of history and tips like this that repeatedly demonstrate that Baltimore's transit is at the bottom of the priority list. We could have a system that connects more people to jobs, schools, healthcare, and opportunity. We could have a system that reduces transportation costs while giving people real choices about how they travel. But that requires us to move beyond marginal improvements and start asking whether we're serious about shifting our priorities in a way that meets the scale of the challenge before us. Your vote later this morning will be another vote to continue our 30-year streak treating transit as tomorrow's priority while investing in everything else today. I hope one day that will change, and the Transportation Alliance will keep advocating to make that a reality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's nice to have three comments.
See, Mr. Chair, I'm checking the chat box. Apparently, there's no one else asking to make general comments.
Actually, I've actually requested twice.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, who's this speaking?
Oh, this is Michael Sapanic of Balt Pop, Baltimoreans for People-Oriented Places.
Got it. Michael, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. So in our group comment on the tip, we questioned the financial forecast approved for the coming LRTP. And one number we questioned was the 75% cap on system preservation spending. The BRTB in the response to our comment defends this number as being the result of, quote, reviewing decades of data of past BRTB spending. In our group comments on the current LRTP, Resilience 2050, this was years ago, we took exception to the BRTB's tone that, quote, implies transportation and land use decisions follow predetermined and unalterable trends which the BRTB is powerless to resist. The process by which the BRTB arrived at their 75% cap number is really a perfect demonstration of this tone, which we have had an issue with. Choosing to continue on with decisions made in the past under today's strikingly different conditions, without question, is not the leadership we're looking for from our elected officials on the BRTB. We want you to please stop perpetuating decisions made at a time and under conditions that really no longer hold true. We also questioned in that comment the assumption of 4.5% annual growth in transportation revenues. And the BRTB is choosing to deviate from a more plausible revenue growth figure of only 1.5 to 2.5%, despite the BRTB openly acknowledging the, quote, slow growth that Maryland's economy has been experiencing in recent years. So again, this is a perfect demonstration of the concern we have raised elsewhere in our group comment on the tip that the BRTB is ignoring too many signs of change. So we have documented the many signs that the world of US transportation and land use in which the BRTB operates has changed. Every tip that the BRTB puts out for public feedback keeps getting flooded by calls from the public to change course in a major way. Calls which you have openly summarized and recognized and say, hey, we're getting this, and yet not changing anything. Please stop anchoring on overly optimistic growth projections that we have really no reason to believe will return anytime soon. The BRTB states in the response to our comment that a multi-decade, quote, a multi-decade financial plan must take the long view of those ups and downs. We agree with that. But this is a multi-decade financial plan that gets revised every 4 to 5 years. So we see no reason why this upcoming revision of the LRTP should not use a revenue growth number that hews more closely to recent history, such as 2%. If this number proves to be too low, come the next revision, then revise it upward. And just to close, so the combination of the too optimistic revenue growth percentage and outdated cap on system maintenance spending, it serves to enable the BRTB to pursue exactly those projects that we feel Maryland needs to abandon. Highway expansions. The highway system is built out. Expanding it further no longer serves us. We cannot afford to add on more of those liabilities. We have more obvious needs. Just because the federal government incentivizes to do something that doesn't mean we should do it. Thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate it.
For comments.
Thank you. We seem to, or maybe having some issues with the chat box. We would like to now just verbally ask, is there any member online who would like to make a general comment not associated with one of the action items that we're seeing today? Hearing none. Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We now ask for the report on the public involvement activity. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 1 second while I pull up the presentation and then I introduce our sharing items. Good morning. Today, I'd like to introduce one of our senior communications associates, Lisa Glasnova, who's going to be presenting on the public involvement report. Lisa?
Good morning. Thank you for your attention today. Today, I'll be presenting on the public involvement report. As mentioned, I am the senior communications and community engagement associate today. So if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be presenting from the last 90 days from April to about mid-July. This typically is our highest engagement time. We have a lot of projects that are coming out. You can see that represented. These numbers are from our overall report. So we had over 34,000 visitors to our public engagement page, over 170 comments. We sent out many emails to our participants. We had over 1,000 participants this year, and I'll touch on what projects they were involved in. We also increased our subscriber number from, we're now at a total of 32,000. So overall, we're doing really well, and I'm going to touch on a little bit about some of the different projects that we've been working on in this time period. So primarily, we've been working on the region now. So we had over 8,000 participants visit our website, which is great numbers from this year compared to the previous time. We had over 200 participants, and we gathered 111 comments. We had 6 new subscribers, which is a decent amount for this project, and we sent over 600 emails. So this is just our online engagement, but Nicole will be presenting a more in-depth presentation on this a little bit later. And then moving forward, we have our long-range transportation plan, which is called Region Next. This is going to be looking at the next 20 years, as mentioned previously, looking at the different revisions that might need to be made, looking at the costs of living and for the different transportation projects, and technology and travel opportunities, different environmental disruptions such as storms and flooding, as well as other disruptions such as the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And so looking at all these different aspects, we're going to be looking at the different projects, as well as releasing a couple of white papers to the public to increase understanding of what we're going to be working on. And so that is, you can find that at yourregionyourvoice.org/region next, which we are updating early. And so looking into one of our specific projects between May and July, we did the Tapsco Regional Greenway Cherry Hill Phase 3. And this is open between about May and June. And from here, we had almost 5,000 visitors on our website. And we had over 160 comments, 63 participants, and 43 new subscribers. I wanted to mention that this happened during our Bike to Work Week campaign as well, so we were able to be out in the public and promoting the Cherry Hill phase as well as some of the other different segments on this project. And so speaking of Bike to Work Week, that was between May 11th and May 17th of this year. Just wanted to shout out the team that worked on it this year. We had an increase of 26% in participation just from 2025 to 2026. So our highest numbers since COVID in participation this year. While we were out in the public, we had 26 events around the region, as well as 18 bike shops that partnered with us. And while we were out and about, like I mentioned, we were able to promote PRG, share about some of our previous projects like Bikeable Baltimore Region, and just promote the active transportation work at the BRTB. I also wanted to mention some of our newsletters that we feature. So as mentioned just now, the active transportation newsletter is constantly sending out emails such as the PRG, such as Bikeable Baltimore Region and Bike to Work Week. So this goes out monthly and it's very well received from the public. We also have the BRTC newsletter, which might be changing here shortly, but we've also been sending that out monthly for more of a regional perspective on different legislative things that have been happening, different policies and different opportunities for people to be involved outside of BMC and BRTB. And then lastly, we've just recently re-updated our Be More Involved page. So this is just the regional perspective of where to get involved on different projects that are happening outside of our organization. And so shout out to our intern Ryan, who's been taking care of that this year, definitely revamped it and had a lot more clicks moving forward. And then lastly, I wanted to share about the Transportation Corps. We're always looking for new members to be added to this, to be a voice for our communication and regional transportation planning, to share feedback on some of our surveys and be a pilot study to make sure that what we're doing is fit for the public at large. So that helps us shape the projects and outreach efforts forward. So we have an application that can be found at yourregion.yourvoice.org/4app. You can also scan the QR code if you have somebody in mind that you might think that might be a good fit for this organization. So yeah, that is my report today. Just wanted to give, again, a quick shout out to our public involvement intern, Ryan. We've been working on different outreach efforts this summer between different campuses and organizations, as well as the region at large.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna ask for a report on the June meeting of the Joint Technical Committee and Interagency Consultation Group. Ms. Angie Daniel.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The Technical Committee and ICG members weighed in on 5 action items at the July meeting. The first was a resolution of the updated socioeconomic forecast of population and jobs in the Baltimore region through 2055. Second was an amendment to the current LRTP Resilient 50 to include the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Replacement Project. Next was the upcoming 2027 to 2030 TIF and the associated conformity determination. Following the TIP review, members were updated on the annual self-certification review. Finally, staff brought recommendations to consider for the Transportation's Alternative Grant Program. Members considered all 5 action items and heard about the public involvement components. The action items were approved to move to the BRTB. Next, Mr. Tim Briggs presented a progress update on the Regional Transit Partnership Strategy Project. The project seeks to understand the scope of shuttle services from private providers and identify opportunities for collaboration. A survey and interviews of private providers found that funding remains the major challenge for both operations and coordination. Next steps for the project include case studies, a final report, and presentation to the BRTB. Next were the election of technical committee officers to serve in FY 2027. The slate of officers for FY 2027 as presented in June, consists of Baltimore County serving a second 1-year term as chair, and Hartford County serving a second 1-year term as vice chair. All members supported the slate as offered. For UPWP updates, the BMC shared several updates. 2 federally required CMAQ performance reports are due to FHWA early this fall. There are 3 performance measures associated with these reports: peak hour excessive delay, percent non-SOV travel, and emission reductions for nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds. The 3 proposed targets will be presented at the August technique meetings. Staff also presented the applications and recommendations for the FY 2027 Transportation and Land Use Connections Program. The TLC program provides short-term technical assistance to local jurisdictions, supporting projects that reduce traffic, improve safety, and make it easier for people to walk, bike, roll, and use transit. 3 projects were received and each were recommended for funding. 1 each from Carroll County, Baltimore City, and Baltimore County. Staff also thanked members for their work to submit candidate projects for the next LRTP, Region X 2055. Staff are reviewing projects and anticipate conducting technical project scoring through September 2026. Finally, there was a closed session to discuss 3 upcoming RFPs: a Braille Authority study, a study of the autonomous future for transportation with a focus on personal delivery devices and autonomous taxis. And the 3rd one was a bus rapid transit readiness study. That completes my report.
All right. Mr. Lang, please present the next action item.
Mr. Chair, now we are going to consider the election of officers. Back to you.
At the May BRTB meeting, the nominating committee recommended a slate of officers for FY 2027, including Howard County as chair, Queen Anne's County as vice chair. We'd now like to extend a call for nominations from the floor. Are there any additional nominations? Hearing no nominations from the floor, I ask a member to move and then a second for approval of the slate of officers.
Anne Arundel County motions. Baltimore County second.
And Baltimore County for the second. Members, when Rebecca reads your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City. Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
Howard County, Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT,
Aye.
and RTA of Central Maryland. Thank you.
All right. The slate has been approved. I appreciate the work of the nominating committee and I look forward to working with BRTB for another year. And we move on to other action items. Todd?
Today, the BRTB is being asked to consider Resolution 27-1. This resolution adopts the Round 10A socioeconomic forecast through 2055. Mr. Matt Hancock of BMC is going to introduce the resolution.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
A few of you are going to be hearing this presentation for possibly the 3rd or 4th time. Bear with me, we will all get through together. So as most of you are aware, the Cooperative Forecasting Group is responsible for producing jurisdiction level forecasts for population, household, and employment. The most recent round that we have is going to be round 10, which was adopted in July 2022. So we're using a bottom-up approach in our forecasting process. So this means our forecasts are developed by local jurisdictions, submitted to us. The regional total is a sum of its parts. So because of this, we have all of these forecasts to combine and get together. In fall 2025, member jurisdictions began working on updated forecasts for round 10A, which I believe we're now calling the 2020 to 2055 updates. This was reviewed through May of this year, and now we'll go through the updated forecasts as well. So these will be the population forecasts from 2020 through 2055 for our jurisdictions here. Overall message is that the Baltimore region is expected to see steady growth in population and households through 2055. We have, at the regional level, we see population growth of 321,000 persons, about 11.3% growth over this 35-year period. So roughly 11,000 persons per year between 2020 to 2055. Once that goes 2025 to 2055, it's about 9,000 persons per year. The largest expected total population growth is going to be in Anne Arundel County, with about 87,663 persons between 2020 to 2055, followed by Baltimore and then Howard County. The largest percentage increase is forecasted in Howard County with 21.6% growth in the population between 2025. Move on to households. The largest numeric increase in 2020 to 2055 is again expected in Anne Arundel County, where an additional 44,761 households are forecast. For base year 2020, Anne Arundel County is ranked second in terms of total households, behind Baltimore County, and by 2055, Anne Arundel remains second, but its growth has outpaced Baltimore County in that time, with 32,000 additional households over that same period. Together, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City account for 70% of the region's total household growth through 2055. The largest percentage increase is shown to be in Harford County, where households are expected to grow by 32% from 2020 to 2055. Howard County follows closely with 30.9% growth, and Anne Arundel behind with 20.3% growth in households. Baltimore City is showing the slowest growth at 6.3% over the same time. Household projections are a little bit more nuanced compared to population growths. While population is expected to grow by 11.3%, households are projected to grow by 15.6%. This is indicating a trend of towards smaller household sizes, with average household size declining from 2.59 in 2020 to about 2.49 by 2055. And I'll get to that in a little bit. For employment, you'll see here all of the jurisdiction submissions summarized. The largest numeric increase is going to be, again, in Anne Arundel County, where we're expected to see an additional 127,000 jobs between this time frame. For base year, Anne Arundel is ranked third in terms of total employment, and by 2050 and through 2055, the forecast job growth moves Anne Arundel into first place, ahead of both Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Together, these three jurisdictions account for 75% of the regional employment growth expected during this time. The largest percentage increase is shown in Harford County, where employment is expected to grow by 54% in this time frame. Between round 10 and round 10A, the forecast for employment was shifted downward to better represent QCW and BEA figures for 2025, which will appear to be as a reduction in overall employment. This revision was based on new available COVID data or data available post-COVID. It is a statistical correction and not necessarily a new economic trend. The R10A, or the round 10 figure, was extremely inflated compared to the 2025 figures that we're recently seeing. So this 346,000 is a little bit closer with those QCW counts. So again, with the 2020 baseline not being changed, and for that adjustment with Baltimore County for the 2025 numbers, it will seem that there is a reduction in that employment there, but it was more of a correction for moving forward without changing the base year. Lastly, this will discuss average household size, which I did say a little bit ago is trending downward. You'll see that from 2020 through 2055, at the regional level, the average household is going to be declining from 2.59 to 2.49. Again, this is an expected and long seen trend where we are seeing reductions in average household size, largely brought on by different fertility trends and trends in migration as well. Within the region, there is some variation in average household size, with the lowest being in Baltimore City and the highest with Howard County. While all jurisdictions are expected to decline in average household size, Harford County has the largest change from 2020 to 2055 with 2.65 to 2.31. So expecting a smaller household size or the largest change in that to be experienced in Harford. And that is the overall summary of the updated forecast rounds. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
I just have a comment. This is, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get to this point. These projections start at the individual counties, their bottom-up projections, so every county participates, puts these projections together, and Matt has helped guide us through this process and coordinate all the different projections that have been brought forward. And it's a big effort to get to this point, and Matt was very helpful in Nance County in getting us through this process. So I just wanted to thank Matt for all his hard work on this and getting us to this point. So thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you. With this, as was mentioned, the Cooperative Forecasting Group and the Technical Committee all recommend adopting this resolution. And now we move resolution 27-1 to BRTB for consideration. Sure.
Thank you. And asking member to move for approval of resolution 27-1. And a second.
Make a motion to approve. Second,
Also, we have the motion and one for the second. Does any BRTB member have any question or comments on the resolution? And I ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments on the resolution. For those online, please indicate you would like to comment in the chat box. Does anyone? Questions?
Mr. Chair, I am looking at the chat box. Currently, I don't see anyone requesting to speak. If I'm missing that, please speak up online. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on this resolution? Hearing nothing, Mr. Chair.
We now proceed to the vote. Again, the camera's on with Rebecca Reed. Read your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis.
Aye.
Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City. Baltimore County.
Aye.
Carroll County.
Aye.
Harford County.
Aye.
Howard County.
Aye.
Queen Anne's County.
Aye.
MDOT.
Aye.
And RTA of Central Maryland. Thanks, everyone.
All right, resolution has passed. Next action item.
Chair and Board, today the BRTB is being asked to consider resolution 27-2. The resolution involves approval of a preferred alternative for the US 5301 Bay Bridge Replacement Project and adding this project to the 2023 Baltimore Regional Transportation Plan known as Resilience 2050, as well as the associated conformity determination. Ms. Heather Lowe from the Maryland Transportation Authority will be introducing the resolution. Heather?
Good morning. Thank you. Is my mic working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me today. So a little bit about the US 5301 Bay Bridge replacement. The lead state agency is the Maryland Transportation Authority. The lead federal agency is the Federal Highway Administration. The project would replace the existing Bay Bridge spans with 2 new bridge spans over the Chesapeake Bay, and both existing spans would be removed. And keep in mind, if you hear us say the Bay Bridge, we are collectively referring to both existing spans. Just want to throw that out there in case I slip up there. So the preferred alternative for the project would replace the existing spans, the 2 bridge spans, with 2 new bridge spans for a total of 8 travel lanes, 4 lanes in each direction, and it would include full shoulders across the bay. It would also include widening US 5301 to 8 lanes from west of Oceanic Drive on the western shore to east of Cox Creek to allow sufficient room for the transition from the existing 6 lanes to the 8 lanes on the new bridge crossing. It would maintain the existing roadway alignment and number of lanes on US 5301 beyond the lane transitions west of Oceanic Drive and east of Cox Creek. Would also increase the navigational clearance from the existing 185 feet to 230 feet to meet US Coast Guard requirements. This increase will be equal to the height of the new Key Bridge, so it would remove vertical barriers for ships, including the new Neo-Panamax ships, and give them access to the Port of Baltimore. Would also include an optional shared use path, or SUP, that would provide connectivity for bicyclists and pedestrians across the Bay Bridge. A little bit about that SUP. We've included that as an option through the NEPA process, and the planning level engineering and environmental impacts for the SUP are included in that preferred alternative. The final determination on the SUP will be made after the NEPA study, after the NEPA process. And we would be doing additional coordination at that time also with the counties regarding how the SUP would connect, potential amenities, especially safety related amenities, and traffic controls such as parking, etc. In addition, we have included a financial commitment for transit-related improvements. We've been working with MTA and the local transit providers, and this commitment would help to support those transit agencies to further their efforts to help improve transit across the bay. Next slide. So this slide just shows, sorry, let me get there on my side, just shows the project. It's just the map of the project. It's approximately 8 miles from west of Oceanic Drive on the western shore to east of Cox Creek. East of Cox Creek on the eastern shore. Next slide. Thank you. So next steps include publishing that final environmental impact statement and record of decision. The FEIS, we've been working closely with our federal partner, the Federal Highway Administration. That the process, it's under the FEIS is currently under review by the Federal Highway Administration. It's a lengthy and iterative process for technical and legal sufficiency. We anticipate approval in late October, early November. After that, we can move into procurement for final design. And during this stage, we'll be answering questions such as how we would deliver the 2 new bridges and remove the existing bridges. We'll be talking about sequencing, delivery packages, timing, and that would all roll into funding and cash flow determinations. Next slide. So the project is being added to the long-range transportation plan. It is being included in the 2027-2030 TIP as a non-exempt major new capacity adding project with regional significance and air quality conformity requirements. We have programmed funding for the preferred alternative in MDTA's program. And as I mentioned, the approval of the final EIS and record of decision is anticipated this fall. Next slide. The BRTB public participation plan requires a public comment period for LRTP amendments impacting air quality conformity. This is held jointly with the TIP public comment period due to inclusion in the Region Now 2027. The public comment period was May 14th through June 15th of this year, and we held an in-person public meeting at the Queen Anne's County Library, Kent Island branch on May 28th. And that's what I've got for you today. I'd like to open it up for any comments, questions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the technical committee has recommended approval of resolution 27-2, including the preferred alternative for the Bay Bridge replacement project into the regional transportation plan, as well as the air quality confirmation determination. Back to you for the resolution and then for questions and comments.
Thank you. I now ask a member to move for approval and resolution of 27-3 second. Howard, motions.
Queen Anne's County, second.
Howard and Queen Anne's. Does any BRTB member have any questions or comments on the resolution?
Chair, may I comment? Thank you. I just want to emphasize Anne Arundel County's perspective, appreciation for the continued consideration of inclusion in the shared use path, as well as the transit investments. Thank you.
Chair, Queen Anne's County wants to take this opportunity to support this amendment. As some of you may know, Queen Anne's County has had its #1 transportation priority for many, many years as adding capacity at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge to resolve congestion on Kent Island. And then the NEPA process started, and our top priority became expediting the NEPA process to provide additional capacity at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge to relieve congestion. And now, as we're wrapping up the NEPA process, our top priority is to fund engineering and design to move the project forward. So Maryland knew this was a monumental project when they first built the Bay Bridge back in 1952, and it opened on July 30th, 1952, 74 years ago. And they knew it was going to be a monumental project when they had to replace the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And that's what this is about. This is about replacing old bridges that need to be replaced. And the NEPA process, which we've participated in, has done a very good and thorough process of evaluating alternatives, looking at different opportunities and looking at alternatives. And they looked at the no-build alternative, and the no-build alternative was expensive. It was $3.8 billion if you do nothing. So it also looked at alternatives for transit, heavy rail, light rail, ferry service. And the NEPA process did give fair consideration to all those options. And it came to the conclusion that that those aren't significant ways to resolve the issue at the Bay Bridge, in part because you can't fit the infrastructure in for the rails, and in part for the ferries and transit because it would not put a big enough dent in the number of trips crossing the bay. If you take a couple million trips out of the bay crossing, that's barely putting a dent in what needs to happen. So transit and ferry service was considered, but it wouldn't go far enough to fix the problem. And so the NEPA process resulted on alternative C, which Queen Anne's County supports. And we support it. All you have to do is look at the existing conditions on the Bay Bridge to know we're at capacity, and these older bridges are in need of replacement. Anytime you get to the point where you have to have reversible lanes on a bridge, that's kind of a red flag that we're running into capacity problems. And the Chesapeake Bay Bridge depends on those reversible lanes to manage congestion on a daily basis at this point. So we're at the point where we need to be planning for this bridge. For the last 25 years, we have had over 25 million trips crossing the bay every year. And that's compared to about 8 million when the second span opened. The traffic continues to increase. The traffic volumes that continue across the bay are substantial, and we don't see that going down anytime soon. The MDOT SHA mobility report, consistently lists this segment in the top 30 bottlenecks of, in their annual report. There's ongoing maintenance, which closes, the bridge daily, or it closes entire spans of the bridge, at night. So it's time to be planning for replacement of the bridges. Queen Anne's County supports it. And it's really not a matter of should we be doing this project or how much we should be spending on. It's really a matter of when are we going to do this project. So right now, getting these, the project into the planning documents, getting money into the TIP to continue the plan is essential from, and Queen Anne's County fully supports the continued plan of this project to move it construction. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to comment on behalf of MTA. I just want to state MTA has been very satisfied with the commitments to transit that have been made for this project. We feel they're meaningful and significant and will help address the needs for transit in Queen Anne's County and in Arundel County and in that corridor. And so we're very satisfied, and we also appreciate the process that MBTA has worked with us and sort of through this whole process to make sure that MTA is felt included and transit is given very fair and due consideration to this process.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can I ask the member to expand upon that? What options are being considered for transit across the bay?
Those really are up to the local counties, and that's going to be they're going to have the opportunity to think about how they want to avail themselves to those commitments. This, MTA, from a sort of our perspective, is that this, this is not our money. We don't have a specific role in deciding how it should be allocated, but we are expect and hope that we can lend our expertise to the counties in how they should choose to spend the money and avail themselves of those commitments.
So it's state money that's allocated to the transit options?
It's money that's coming from MDTA as part of the project.
And is it a long-term sustainable funding stream or just some capital?
It's money that's coming through the project. I don't know exactly what the schedule will be for allocating the money, but it will be coming as a sort of a through the period of the project. It's not a endless, indefinite period.
Oh, it's through the project phase to mitigate the impact of construction. This is not about expanding capacity and transit between the two counties across the bridge, is it?
It's a commitment as a component of the project to, and I can't speak for the counties whether they'll use it for capacity expansion or system preservation for their use, but to their to the long-term health of their transit systems.
Yeah, it's funding to help and support our local program. And it's at this point, it's a one-time influx. At this point in the process. Right. Yep.
It's not as if this somehow allows the bridge to be programmed in a way to facilitate transit across the bridge. This is about supporting both programs on either side, maybe coordinating to improve.
Correct. The added capacity of the bridge helps facilitate the options for transit across the bay. So that's, but this funding is for transit-related programs existing.
MTA commuter buses, which currently operate across the Bay Bridge, will be significant beneficiaries of the congestion mitigation that is going to come with this project.
One more question, perhaps for Ms. Lowe. Can you explain why it would take 4 years to time the bridge? It strikes me as a long time, but perhaps you can.
I'm sorry, can you say that?
You said that the design of the bridge.
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Ooh. I keep getting unstable network connection. I'm so sorry. I think I got you were wondering why it could take so long for design. Is that correct?
Yes, and to expand, is it because of the funding stream or is it because of the complexity of the project.
It's because of the complexity of the project. We are likely looking at many different contracts for this project. It is a massive project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. A few questions from Department of Planning. I would like to point out that with the improvement or replacement of the existing Bay Bridge, and we understand, and also we all understand that the congestion in the future is not going to totally resolve. We know this fact. So we emphasize the need for the future to continue consideration of TDM, transit demand management, and crew transit and pedestrian bicycles, and the flexible of future of co-funding and emphasize of reduce the single occupancy vehicle travel through the bridge. That kind of option should be continually considered and continuing after construction of bridge, if that happens.
Any more comments, questions? All right, we now ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments on the resolution. So those online, please indicate if you would like to comment on the chat box.
Mr. Chair, currently I'm seeing no one requesting to speak in the chat box. Please indicate verbally if I am missing something in the chat. Looking out to the audience, does anyone like to speak on this resolution? There's no member of the public who would like to speak on this resolution.
All right, thank you. We will now proceed to the vote. Again, the camera's on. If there's any out there, when Rebecca reads your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT,
Aye.
RTA of Central Maryland.
I think we missed Howard.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay.
Sorry about
Aye.
that. Howard County.
Aye.
Thank you again.
Okay.
All right, this was just passed. Next action item.
Second, PowerPoint. One moment, please. Okay, today the BRTB is being asked to consider resolution 27-30. This resolution considers the fiscal year 2027 to 2030 transportation improvement program and corresponding air quality conformity determination of both this TIP and Resilience 2050, the current long-range transportation plan. Ms. Nicole Condell is going to present on this resolution. Nicole?
Hi, good morning, everyone. As noted, I will walk us through an overview of the draft 27 through 30 TIP, Region Now 27, and the associated air quality conformity analysis as part of Resolution 27-3. This resolution was approved by the technical committee at their July 7th meeting. So Region Now 27 contains 170 projects in total with 4 new projects. These fiscally constrained program funds add up to an estimated $9.1 billion, with a little less than half of that federal funding, roughly a quarter in private funding, roughly a quarter in toll revenue, and the smallest portion in state and local funding. Additionally, these projects support goals stemming from the BRTB Long-Range Transportation Plan, Resilience 2050, such as safety, prosperity, economic opportunity, and environmental responsibility. Over the past 5 tip cycles, federal and matching state local funding levels have been fairly consistent, with this current 27 to 30 tip seeing an increase in federal and private funds. Private funding is not shown for previous tip cycles due to the amount being too small to visualize on the chart. Another new funding category is federal emergency relief. This jump is partially due to an update to the Francis Scott Key Bridge project funding, which is now programmed to receive federal emergency relief funding, as well as insurance and settlement funds, which are considered private. This breakdown of tip funding per sponsor shows that MDTA accounts for the largest amount of combined funding, approximately 4.2 billion. The vast majority of this funding is, as noted on the previous slide, for the FSK bridge rebuild, which includes federal emergency relief, private and toll funding for advanced construction. SHA has the second largest portion of combined funding at an estimated $2 billion, then MTA Transit at $1.4 billion. Baltimore City and MTA Commuter Rail are next, hovering close to $500 million, with smaller portions for the local counties and the Maryland Port Administration. Of the 10 project categories in the TIP, just over 60% of total funding is going toward highway preservation. Again, much of this is accounted for by the Key Bridge rebuild. Transit preservation follows at roughly 15% of TIP funding, then by highway capacity and commuter rail preservation at about 6% each. The emission reduction strategy category accounts for about 5%, with smaller amounts toward environmental safety and transit capacity, TAP, and port projects. Next up, we have some project highlights, starting with bridges, which make up 40% of the TIP projects. This is a core project type, which covers projects across the Baltimore region, the majority of which are locally sponsored. Programmed funding for bridges totals over $4.4 billion, much of this, again, going toward the Key Bridge rebuild. Another large portion of funding, around $9.2 million, is programmed for bridge safety inspections. Excluding bridge projects, there are 37 highway preservation and capacity projects, making up over $1.8 billion of the programmed TIP funds. The majority of this funding is federal, accounting for approximately $1.1 billion, with the second largest source being toll revenue at about $444 million. Some major projects include MDTA I-95 Express Toll Lanes northbound extension in Baltimore and Harford counties, as well as the SHA I-97 project from US 50 to Maryland 32 in Anne Arundel County. Of note, over $951 million are programmed for SHA area-wide resurfacing and rehabilitation, safety improvements, and urban road reconstruction improvements provided across the region. For transit and commuter rail, there are 25 projects accounting for over $2 billion of the program TIP funding. 1.5 billion of this is federal, with 443 million in state funding and a smaller amount in local funding. Some project examples include the MTA Red Line and low floor light rail fleet transition, as well as the Harford County Harford Transit Link in new operations facilities. Regarding federal funding for MTA projects in particular, MTA utilizes the public participation process for our TIP to meet the Federal Transit Administration's public participation requirements. Part of this, a breakdown of MTA funding by FTA fund sources provided here. Section 5307C provides the largest source of funding, around 582 million, for capital requests in urbanized areas that are used for bus purchases, bus replacements, and preventative maintenance. The next largest source is Section 5337, around 426 million, for projects which support the state of good repair. The third largest source of funding is CMAQ, around 144 million, for projects targeting congestion mitigation and air quality. Broadening back to transit-related projects as a whole, a trend we wanted to highlight is that total program funding has increased since the 2022 to 2025 cycle, nearly doubling from $1 billion to $2 billion. Switching gears to the TIP conformity determination, because the Baltimore region is classified as an ozone non-attainment area by EPA, transportation conformity requirements through the Clean Air Act apply to the adoption of Vision Now 2027. This means that the implementation of the TIP must not cause new air quality violations, worsen existing air quality violations, or delay timely attainment of the ozone air quality standard. In coordination with the interagency consultation group, emissions modeling was completed and confirmed to make the conformity determination. The level of ozone precursors, NOx and VOC emissions anticipated from on-road vehicles were modeled. Measurements were estimated for 4 horizon years, 2026, 2035, 2045, and 2050. And for each of these years, estimates were made based on the existing road and transit networks, plus any TIP and long-range plan projects expected to be complete during each of those years. The results of the modeling analysis show that for each horizon year, implementation of the TIP passes and conforms to the state emissions budget. For both the TIP and the conformity determination, a public comment period was held May 14th through June 15th. A variety of outreach efforts were conducted, including an interactive story map and virtual transportation core meeting. The virtual meeting presentation was recorded and posted to the public input TIP website, and additional presentations were offered at regional and local outreach events. Comments were received through submissions from both individuals and organizations, for which responses were developed. The tech committee and BRTB members posted responses to these comments, which will also be published in the final TIP document. A survey was offered to gather feedback on the TIP. When asked about familiarity with the TIP, the majority of respondents at 58% were kind of familiar, and 29% were very familiar with the TIP process, while 13% were not familiar. And respondents were also asked whether they support the Region Now 2027 program and project mix. 50% shared that they were not supportive of the mix, 31% were not sure, and 19% shared that they are supportive of the TIP program. And just for reference, there were 42 respondents in total. Common themes in the public comments received include reducing spending on highway and parking expansion, increasing support for biking, walking, and public transit, improving safety and reducing fatalities, as well as addressing air quality with bold action to reduce car use. After the public comment period, updates are being made to the draft TIP and conformity determination with details that were not yet available at the start of the period. There are three major updates. First, one new project is being added, the MTA Baltimore City Ferry Service Improvements Project. This project was reviewed and confirmed by ICG to be exempt from conformity analysis, and so therefore changes were not required to that conformity analysis and modeling. Two projects were removed from the TIP. The MPA Fairfield Masonville Stormwater Management 1 project, as well as the Baltimore City Moravia Road Ramp Bridge over Pulaski Highway project, as these projects are no longer funded. And of note, these projects were removed after the July 7th Technical Committee meeting approval, based on some recent requests from MDOT and Baltimore City. Additionally, three existing projects are being updated with adjusted funding details, which have been reflected in the previous slides, included in those numbers that were shown. The MDTA Francis Scott Key Bridge project programmed funding categories were updated to specify federal emergency relief funding, as well as private funding and toll revenues for advanced construction. The total program remains the same, just more specific funding categories were added. The MDTA Chesapeake Bay Bridge Replacement Project, total program funding was reduced by $62 million due to reductions in funding per fiscal year. And lastly, the Baltimore City Kane Street Sidewalk Project was updated to specify congressionally designated spending as the federal funding source. And for that project, the total program amount of funding remains the same. And additionally, some minor grammatical and informational updates are being made to the TIP, such as well as the conformity determination chapters and appendices. This includes the results of the comment period and addition of the BRTB resolutions. And so with that, this brings us to the end of the presentation on the TIP air quality conformity and public engagement summary. I'm happy to take any questions. Contact information is on the screen as well. If there's any further inquiries, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I would also like to thank all the members of the BRTB and the agencies for working with us on responses to the comments. I think we ended up with about 50 pages of comments and responses. So thank you for your work in terms of reviewing the items, and thank you to all the commenters. They're very thoughtful comments. With that, we now ask the BRTB to consider resolution 27-3, adopting the fiscal year 2027 to 2030 TIP and corresponding air quality conformity determination. Eric?
Thank you. I'm gonna ask a member to move for approval of the resolution 27-3 and a second. Howard, moves. Second. That was Howard offered. Does any BRTB member have any questions or comments on the resolution? All right, we're gonna ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments on the resolution. For those online, please indicate if you would like to comment in the chat box.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking in the chat box. I do not currently see anyone requesting to speak in the chat box. I will ask verbally if the chat box is not working. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak regarding this resolution online? And now I will look to the audience. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this resolution in the audience? Seeing none, Mr. Chair, I will pass it back to you.
Okay, we now proceed to the vote. And the cameras on, any members out there, with the record reach your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis.
Aye.
Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City. Baltimore County.
Aye.
Carroll County.
Aye.
Hartford County.
Aye.
Howard County.
Aye.
Queen Anne's County.
Aye.
MDOT.
Aye.
RTA of Central Maryland. Thank you.
Resolution has passed. Next action item.
Mr. Chair and Board, we're now in 10 minutes in. We'll try to get this moving for you since we know there are storms coming a little bit later. Today, the BRTB is being asked to consider Resolution 27-4. This resolution addresses the BRTB's self-certification process of the regional planning process. This follows the development of our annual work program, the TIP, and other transportation plans and programs. And I will be presenting on this. So every year as we do the TIP, we do the self-certification process, basically saying that we're meeting all of the federal regulations there as a board that we're required to do. We're basing this on the latest metropolitan planning rule. We are representing 2 transportation management areas, which are areas of population and urbanized areas beyond 200,000. Both the Baltimore urbanized area, the greater Baltimore urbanized area, and up in Harford County, the Bel Air urbanized area. So because of that, there's some additional requirements that we meet, and we're just going through the process of showing how we are doing. And as we had mentioned, we do this every year as we adopt a new transportation improvement program. So I'm not going to read through all of the different applicable requirements, but as we had mentioned, there's the planning rule that we are following. Anticipate an update to the planning rule at some point. It's several years that we've been kind of waiting for that, but we are basing it on the latest one. Again, the conformity determination meets the requirements of the Clean Air Act. And then there's several different non-discrimination actions in which we need to make sure that we're following. These include civil rights, Americans with Disabilities Act, aging, disabilities, and then also equal employment opportunity through that process. So we do have full documentation how we are, as a board, meeting all of these individual requirements. There's an attachment to the resolution that documents all of these different items. We do this as part of the general program of our Unified Planning Work Program that we also call our annual budget, but then also through the employment contracting and procurement process through BMC. We make sure that we meet all of the regulations. We actually, there's been some updates actually to the Federal Transit Administration procurement processes and general agreements that we've been going through, as I'm sure many of the local governments have been doing. We're making sure that we're part through that. Again, there are some changes that we do on an annual basis. We are making sure that we continue to reference our new public involvement program of the Transportation Corps. We're updating the performance-based planning and programming as we adopt new factors and new targets for each of these individual items, including the highway safety performance targets. Again, the adoption of the new budget TIP, and then references to the coming long-range transportation plan, Region Next 2055, that we're hoping to adopt in the year 2027, and then also reflecting some of the changes in language per new federal guidance. With that, I am here to answer any questions, and this resolution has been recommended for adoption by the technical committee. I'll turn it back to the chair for consideration of Resolution 7-4.
I now ask a member to move for approval of Resolution 27-4 in a second.
Paul McCanny moved it. And one will go second.
Baltimore County and does any BRTB member have any questions or comments on the resolution? We now ask if any member of the public have any questions or comments on the resolution. And for those online, please indicate if you'd like to comment in the chat box.
Second, please. Currently, there is no one requesting to speak in the chat box, and we'll look around to the audience to see if there's anyone who would like to speak on this resolution. Mr. Chair, there's no one requesting to speak on this resolution.
Okay, thank you. We'll now proceed to the vote. With any members are out, the other cameras on, when ready to read your name, just indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis.
Aye.
Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City. Baltimore County.
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT,
Aye.
and RTA of Central Maryland. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Resolution has passed. Next action.
Today, the BRTB is being asked to consider Resolution 27-5. This resolution considers applications for transportation alternatives grant funding, and Ms. Charlene Mingus of BMC will be presenting on these recommendations.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the Transportation Alternatives Program application period opened in May of this year. They were due in May of this year. They were reviewed by MDOT SHA and the BMC review team. The Baltimore region urbanized area had 3 applications totaling a little over 5.3 million. The Aberdeen, Bel Air South, Bel Air North urbanized area did not have any applications this year. First project is the 5th Avenue Southwest feasibility study in Anne Arundel County. It extends from Stewart Avenue to Crane Highway. It's for feasibility study totaling almost $250,000. With $200,000 requested, it would develop active transportation options for one or both sides of 5th Avenue Southwest. And would improve access for students walking and biking to Richard Henry Lee Elementary School, as well as the nearby middle school and high school. With the school system estimating that up to 265 students would be able to walk to school with this new infrastructure. Also in Anne Arundel County, you have the South Shore Trail Phase 4B, extending from Crownsville Road to Honeysuckle Lane. This construction project would have a total cost of $5.5 million and would construct a 10-foot wide, 1.5 mile long shared use path from Crownsville Road to Honeysuckle Lane. This would complete another section of the South Shore Trail. So that would provide more access for people wanting to bike and walk. There's also the Utah Place separated bike lane in Baltimore City. This is for design, the total cost of $977,000. It would be a separated bicycle facility from Druid Hill Park to Center Street in downtown Baltimore, creating a more connected network in the city. Also creating a more low stress, all ages and all abilities facility. And it's in an area located to where there's a lot of schools, parks, and transit, and other community destinations. The recommendation for funding was for the Utah Place, get the name right, Utah Place separated bike lane, and then the Anne Arundel County 5th Avenue Southwest feasibility study. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. This resolution was recommended by the technical committee. We now ask the chair and the board to consider resolution 27-5.
And that's them for approval of the resolution 27-5. A second.
Annapolis moves approval.
And Arundel seconds.
And that was first and one was second. Does any BRC member have any questions or comments on the resolution? I'm gonna ask him if any member of the public has any questions or comments on the resolution. For those online, please indicate you would like to in the chat box.
Mr. Chair, there's currently no one requesting to speak in the chat box. No one requesting to speak in the audience.
Okay, we now proceed to the vote. Again, if any members are out there and cameras on, when the record reads your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Hartford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT,
Aye.
and RTA of Central Maryland. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We now have Mr. Don Halligan, who will present on the final report from the Baltimore Regional Transit Commission.
Good morning. As you probably are aware, the BRTC, the Baltimore Regional Transit Commission, will sunset at the end, in the beginning of October this year. That's as a result of actions that the General Assembly took this past session. They created two new entities to fill that role. The Core Transit Services Board and the Commuter Service Advisory. So these two, they also gave them some additional powers, and they'll be housed within MDOT or MTA. Today, I want to walk through the overview, kind of the general content of the annual report that the BRTC is required to provide to the General Assembly. It's their last report, so I see it as becoming less what they've done the prior year. So they've done these each year. They've existed, and this year will be a little bit more. It'll be a summary of what they've done and kind of an opportunity to look forward to the future. Sorry, this is taking my way. So, as I said, it'll serve several purposes to document what the commission's accomplished and make some recommendations of what they've learned, what priorities they've developed. So that's not lost and able to help what has happened with what comes next. Some of the content I hope will appear in the document. It hasn't been written yet. It's in the process of being written, and the commission has yet to see it. So this is all my hope, and what ends up in there is going to be a section on their history, how they came into being, their role, what they've been serving, and some of their key activities, some of the things that they're required to do by legislation. It also includes some of their major accomplishments. So there'll be a document that will talk about things like being the first regional oversight entity, some of their substantive reporting and recommendations they made throughout their existence, their legislative advocacy efforts, particularly on the budget and transit needs in the region, their CTP comment letters that helped with the discussions in the General Assembly. They had a series of working groups that did some targeted analysis, and one of which I think has some real use here in the BRTB, the locally operated transit services working group that the chair served on. Some of their efforts to engage the public and recast the governance of transit. And then expected to talk a bit about outstanding and ongoing issues related to transit. So state of good repair backlog,
the capital operating budget needs and their trajectory. Some of the major projects, Red Line, B-More Bus, and the regional transit planning and implementing some recommendations in the regional transit plan. I expect there to be an appendix of some of that work and some of the correspondence they've had. So it won't be just backward looking. I expect it, as I said, to become a little more forward looking and make a series of recommendations to the entities that are stepping in on their role in a more robust way. I expect to see project and program delivery recommendations, how to engage the public, things like using their power that they're granted fully for the budget review, and helping support the rail authority study that has also been passed within that legislation that created these new entities. And I don't think it would be complete if they didn't make recommendations to the General Assembly on things like funding, capital and operating needs, providing sufficient resources for the entities themselves, addressing transit equity, and MTA's budget. So that is sort of the overview of where I hope this thing will go, and also help serve as a strong foundation to continue to build a transit network. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
I would say that this, appreciate all the hard work done and the commission has put into this. It's a prime example of a strong group of folks across the region, given being an advocate for transit, and just me being part of that is just, I think all of the work we've done, the rest of the team.
And as staff, I'd like to thank you as a very active member of that commission, and you know, it's a thankless job. I know you don't get paid for it, so I very much appreciate your energy and your efforts.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Is there any other business to come before the BRTB?
Your chair, staff has no additional business for the BRTB.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll call for vote to close the meeting. All in favor, say aye. 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 Next meeting on BRTB will be virtual on Tuesday, August 25th. Thank you all.